Hi guys, good evening, and welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host, Eddie, and in tonight's video, I'll be discussing what I thought of the latest and super good episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is also sadly the second to last episode ever, because next week is the finale of the limited series, unfortunately. However, I guess we could get a surprise season 2 announcement before then, but most likely not. They were pretty insistent this being strictly a limited series. And it seems like the response to it has been mixed at best, because I feel like people have enjoyed some of the episodes where some of the others they have just absolutely hated and crapped on. So probably won't get a second season, but oh well, I've enjoyed it for what it is. So before I get into all of that, please be warned, this is obviously a spoiler-filled review, so if you have not seen the latest episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi, do not keep watching or listening to this review, as I will be going into spoilers, plot details, character stuff, all that jazz. That being said, you have been warned. Let's dive right back into it. First and foremost, so great seeing Hayden Christensen again after all these years as Anakin Skywalker. It was so great to see him in those flashbacks, both when he was training with Obi-Wan and when he was killing the kids during Order 66. Oof, haunting shit. But he looked great. You know, he looked a bit older than the last time we saw him in this role, but it was great to see him all the same. It brought back some good memories. So I was very happy to see him in the flashbacks. And I loved that it went back and forth from the present to the past. And I loved how it felt like both Vader and Obi-Wan were remembering the same training session, or at least one of them was. And it felt like it was mostly Vader who's doing most of the remembering. And then it also felt like he was the one who obviously did the memory of killing the younglings. And clearly he remembers Reva as well. So I guess he was just waiting for her to show her hand, or when he deemed her no longer useful to him. Because I was going to say, Vader is pretty smart and remembers a face. And so I feel like I wasn't too surprised when he referred to her as a youngling. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And clearly he could sense or tell she was about to kill him or hit him with her lightsaber. But he obviously knew who she was the whole time. So I guess he just waited until she posed enough of a threat to finally dispatch her, which is what he obviously did. Although with Grand Inquisitor apparently surviving, which again, not surprising considering that he doesn't die here, something else happens to him later on. But they didn't retcon anything with him. I guess she probably stabbed him through some organs, but they weren't vital enough to kill him. And it seems like his willpower, his will for his need, and his will for revenge is what kept him alive and kept his blood flowing, probably. And looks like he had some kind of plate on his chest. Maybe he has some replacement parts for where his organs once were from where she stabbed him in that episode a while back. And hypothetically, the same thing could happen for Reva, except she very well could die because there's no one immediately around to help her. The Empire pretty much abandoned her after she betrayed and tried to kill Vader. I do like how Obi-Wan kind of weaponized her against Vader when he realized that she blamed Vader more than she blamed Obi-Wan. And I wasn't at all surprised that she was one of the younglings who survived Order 66. The very first episode of this series showed that flashback of those kids running through the temple while the clone troopers are murdering the Jedi. And I was like, I bet you she is one of them. There's a girl there, and I bet you she's going to end up being one of them. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So it wasn't exactly revealing, but it was nice to get that confirmation. And I like how her reasoning for blaming Obi-Wan, which is quite understandable, is that, hey, Anakin was your Padawan. You were supposed to be responsible for him. You were supposed to control him. And he went and murdered all my friends and pretty much my family, because the younglings were the only family she had known. So I liked learning about Reva's motivations in this episode. Like, we got a lot of theories and suspicions officially confirmed in this episode, which was just fine with me. Again, saw a lot of it coming, but it was still enjoyable to watch. Speaking of enjoyable to watch, this episode was giving me serious vibes of one of my all-time favorite, most rewatched episode of Star Wars Rebels, which is the two-part Season 3 finale, which features the Empire cornering the Rebels on a little planet and basically doing a planetary siege while fighting them on the surface as well. And I got very strong vibes of that particular episode, that Season 3 finale for Rebels, in this episode of Obi-Wan. We had an Imperial force trapping and occupying a planet that a bunch of rebellious characters, a small army, was pretty much trapped on, but then they fought back. There were casualties on both sides. Didn't like seeing Tala go, but I understood it too. I did like her final words, and I liked that we got to see somebody finally use a thermal detonator as well, although we've probably seen those used before, but it was nice to see a recognizable device all the same. Didn't like seeing her droid go either, that poor guy, but at least they died in each other's arms, question mark. But it was still an exciting episode, pretty satisfying. I'm not at all surprised we didn't see another rematch between Obi-Wan and Vader. I feel like they're definitely saving the best for last, by which I mean they're saving the true rematch for the final episode, and I'm sure that is going to be properly epic and memorable. I'm fairly confident of that. But we still got some pretty epic Vader and Obi-Wan moments in this episode, especially with Vader fucking crushing that ship, and I was suspicious it was going to be a decoy, and sure enough it was, but if it hadn't, I'm like, oh my god, this is the most powerful, possibly the most angry we've ever seen him. But Obi-Wan's prediction came true when he said, all he'll be able to see is me. Like, he is so fixated on finding and killing Obi-Wan, he completely disregards everyone and everything else. And he's probably filled with so much anger, hatred, and rage that it gave him all that strength to stop that ship mid-transport and crush it and literally pull it apart. But of course, it's allowed them to escape in the real ship. So that was good. Oh, and Lola got turned back to good, essentially. I mean, Leia removed her restraining bolt, but it was good to see her back on the good side. Oh, and I also love seeing Haja again, which is... damn it, what's his name? I think it's Kumali's character, Kumali, and I'm going to butcher this name, and I'm sorry, Kumali Nujwar from the Eternals, and he was like the con artist in an earlier episode. It was nice seeing him throw in with the rebel lot, so I liked that. Sorry, they're not exactly rebels, but they are a rebellious bunch of people trying to save themselves and each other from the Empire. Also interesting seeing Trandoshans amongst that crowd too. Usually they're depicted as bad guys, but I guess there's a family of them hiding with these people, so that was pretty cool. Great episode overall. I'm sorry that it's coming to an ending so quickly, but I'm sure we're in for one heck of an ending when we get the final episode next week. Well, final episode, question mark? Most likely, but you never know. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. What did you think of it? I'd love to hear your feelings and opinions on it down below in the comments section. Have an awesome rest of your night. The Obi-Wan Kenobi finale drops next week on Disney+. Have a good night, everybody. Of course, until next time, may the Force be with you.